Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne Sharp World, where today we're going to be taking a look at another new Finch knife. This one is none other than the Finch Cherry Bomb. Now, before I go any further into this review, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in today. If you like what you see, please do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button, follow along, and I will continue to bring you the content. Now, let's take a look at some overall specs on this knife right here. We have an overall length of 6.25 inches, a blade length coming in at 2.6 inches, with a blade width of 0.9 inches. We have a blade thickness of 0.11 inches, and blade material is 154 cm steel, which has kind of become the regular go-to steel for Finch, which I don't really have any problem with whatsoever. And we have a drop point style blade with a flat grind, a handle length coming in at 3.65 inches with a handle thickness at 0.47 inches. The handle width on this guy is 0.92 inches, measured right here where the bolster kind of starts right down here. And we have a handle material of stainless steel bolster as well as this smoke-looking resin. So it's fully resin, and then there's some white resin in there to give it that smoky look, which I think is really cool. We'll hit on that a little more when we get to the handle and ergos of this knife. We have a user of a right hand only tip-up carry, a weight of 3.3 ounces, and a price of $135. Now let's take a look at some size comparisons here and see just what we got. See just what we're working with. Let's bring out a Spyderco. Here we have the Spyderco Little Native. And then let's also pull out another popular one, the Civivi Elementum. This knife is very much in between these two knives. As you can see, a little bigger than the Little Native and a little smaller than the Elementum. But it gives you a really good range of where this knife is coming in. It's right on that borderline of a potential fifth pocket carry or a primary carry. I honestly think, depending how big your fifth pocket is, I think this would be a pretty darn good knife for either one of those carrying scenarios or positions or spots in your pants, wherever you want to call it, whatever you do with it. But it could definitely be used in, it's a versatile knife, we'll put it that way. And let's bring in a couple other Finches. My two favorite Finches, to be totally honest. The Finch model 1929, as well as one of the newer knives from Finch. This is the Devil's Finger. And as you can see, it's very similar to that Elementum and Little Native comparison. Very much in the middle. More along the lines of the 1929. Considerably shorter than the Devil's Finger, but comparing it to just the 1929, a lot of similarities here that Finch does really well, and they do a good job of keeping that that flair, that touch they have on their knives, keeping it throughout the lineup. You have that cool Finch logo down here. You have the blade branding, which I really like from Finch, kind of that old school font that I think looks really good. You got the stainless steel bolsters, and it's just a solid knife. Nice pocket clips. I'm getting a little too lost in the weeds here. We're gonna go over all that right now that we're done with size comparisons. But it's just nice to touch, and I love seeing that when a designer and company, you know, they find a way to stay true to their brand and spread it out throughout their entire lineup. Finch does a good job of that. So now let's get in and talk about this blade. You know, it's really nothing wildly new or different. It's a simple, clean, somewhat small drop point blade. Like I said, it really walks that fine line of, do you want to make it a fifth pocket carry or do you want to make it a primary carry? I really, in all honesty, I could see it going both ways. We have a blade on this knife that is centered very, very well, perfectly as a matter of fact, with, of course, a very solid lockup on that bolster lock, as well as no blade play whatsoever. This blade also has a very nice working edge coming in at 20 thousandths, so it gives you some really nice cutting ability. Not the sliciest guy in the world, but a great little working knife. And you have that nice jimping all over the blade again. You got that nice tacky, grippy jimping up here on the spine, and you have that same jimping down here on the choilish area, which I'll refer to it as, to give you that good Finch grip. it's just such a nice, solid position to hold this knife in, because this jimping bites into your index finger and the jimping on the spine bites into your thumb, and this knife's not going anywhere, guys. It's just not, and it gives you just a really good purchase on this knife, and it gets you really close to the blade to do some good detail work, or just, you know, make some more accurate cuts. We also have a nice strong tip on this knife. As far as the 20 thousandths, it does cover pretty much all the way up the blade. You know, it's going to vary by a thousandth or so, but you get up to that tip and it's not too thin. It's very much made for some aggressive work. So do like that a whole lot about that. Going into the handle and ergos, the ergos are actually pretty solid in a couple different positions. It really does feel good just in your kind of your standard position that I think most people are going to hold the knife in. You got that little bit of curvature here to help you access the bolster lock, but also it gives your index finger a good place to sit. You really do feel and appreciate that little curve right there. It's very subtle, but you do notice it, especially in that area of your index finger, and it just feels really good. And then you also move up into the Finch grip position, and it's honestly just as good. This is probably, you know, I don't know. The more I hold this and the more I've carried it, I find myself using both positions, really not necessarily intentionally or unintentionally, just however I pull it out of my pocket, flip it open, and I just kind of go to it. I think the Finch grip is probably my more common go-to grip on this knife, but it feels just as good here too. So that really doesn't come down to user preference, but either way, you're gonna have a pretty comfortable grip in hand. Now, the bolster lock is nothing new from Finch, but it's just nicely done. As for the rest of the bolster locks you see on Finches, I always like seeing these. They add a little weight, and some people complain about the weight sometimes, but like I've said before, guys, in all honesty, anything under 4 ounces is I have zero issue with. It doesn't bother me. That's anything under 4 ounces is too light to really make a difference one way or the other for me. This knife kind of reminds me of kind of my little native in terms of you get those. I added the titanium handles, and they added that little bit of the weight, and I like the weight in a small knife. I like added weight in the handle of a small knife. I don't necessarily like a big knife with metal handles, or whether it be, you know, copper, brass, titanium, whatever, stainless steel, because a big knife can get pretty heavy and it can be a little cumbersome. But you get a small knife with a nice amount of weight and just meat in the handle, and it really does feel good in the hand. I feel like it gives you a little better control of the blade, something that I do really like in a smaller knife, and that is what you have right here. Now, as for the smoke resin scales, overall, I really like them a lot. They add a nice touch of flair, but they don't make for any extra grip. That's really the one drawback of resin scales, is you really can't texture them because they're so smooth. As you can see, it's a shinier material. But this is my thing with the resin grip on this knife specifically. You have such a good grip up front with the spine, with the jimping on the spine and the jimping in the choil area, to where everything back here, you're kind of just pushing in with your fingers, and the jimping and the texturing up along the top or bottom portion of the blade, that gives you the real grip you need, guys. There is no issue of this knife slipping or moving in my hand when I'm working with it. There's just not. This knife is not, at the same time too, this knife is not made to, you know, do anything crazy, some big massive cutting job with. This is an EDC knife. It's not a, you know, construction worker's knife. It is what it is. So you have plenty enough grip here, and the scales, even though they don't have any texturing and are smooth, that doesn't make it really, it makes no issue for me whatsoever. And I also like this one specifically. As you can see, the smoke, it's kind of coming from the top and working its way and stopping just right at the Finch logo. I think that looks really cool. I like how that kind of accents the logo, and it just kind of gives that smoking pistol look. I think that's really, really cool. Now on the back, there's not a whole lot, but again, that's the uniqueness of these resin scales. Every single knife is going to be different. No two knives are alike. So that's really cool in that aspect, and you know, you can get some really cool designs or swirls. You know, you get some cool little images there within those scales. Now, All in all, though, it is just a very clean handle. It's made unique by the smoke resin scales, and again, it's just there's no part of the handle or blade. The blade and handle also, they mesh really well together. Nice flowing lines, and it just really works. It's two parts that come together. That's always one of my biggest issues with a knife is, does the handle work with the blade? Does the blade work with the handle? It plays into a big aesthetic portion of the knife, and this one works for me. Now and the clip, got to talk about the clip one real quick. There's really not a whole lot to say about it. Finch is actually really good at providing good clips on their knives. Looking at the 1929 in comparison, very similar, pretty much the same gap in between the clip and handle, and perfect tension on both of these as well. You slide it into your pocket, you don't have to worry about it coming out, and it's just a simple clip that works well. No hot spots, nothing like that. Works good in every sense of how a clip should work. So there you go. Now going into the action. The action on this guy is really good. It's typical Finch action. If you guys have a 1929, very, very comparable to the 1929. I think the blade shape makes the only difference you notice in these two. There's more blade up top on the 1929, so it does feel a little different. Now, I've also cleaned and lubed this 1929, so it is a little smoother, but I have not done that yet with this. This is out of the box. This is out of the box Cherry Bomb. So very, very, still needs that little bit of extra knife guy TLC, we'll call it, but add that lube, clean out those bearings, and it's only going to get better, and it's already really good. So that is a good thing. The detent on this guy is really crisp and nice. It gives a nice little thwack on the deployment, which I think everyone can appreciate. And the flipper works great whether you are push buttoning it or if you are light switching it. Either way, it works great. Like I said, a very close comparison to the 1929. I think a lot of people have picked that one up. That's definitely been one of the better selling Finch knives for very good reasons. And I think this one will have some popularity too. It has that nice little kind of old school but modern look to it. A lot of good things going for it. Overall, it is another great offering from Finch. Once again, like I said earlier, it's a unique design that still very much has that Finch touch of style and aesthetics that I've come to really enjoy. So now the surprise, what you may have all been waiting for. This knife is going to be given away. Finch sent me this knife and said, hey, you know what? I know you're coming up on those 10,000 subscribers. Throw this one in your giveaway and give it away to one of your subscribers. So thank you, Finch Knives, very much for your continued support of the channel and your insane generosity. Very, very much appreciated. So guys, this knife is added to the 10,000 knife, or 10,000 knife. I'm not giving away 10,000 knives, but when I hit 10,000 subscribers, I will be giving away some good knives. There is a lineup building. This is the third knife added to it, and there will be more. And they're going to be pretty good knives. You got a $135 knife here. I got another $100 knife and a very nice Kaiser Genie, which you guys saw earlier. So there's some really good knives coming up on the giveaway. The sooner I get to 10,000 subscribers, the sooner I will be giving them all away. So there you go, guys. There is the Finch Cherry Bomb. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of this design as well as the rest of Finch designs. He has a lot coming out that I am very excited for and look forward to seeing those in the future. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And until the next one, I'm out.